can you believe it? We are 9 months away from the iPhone 16 launch. Let's go over every single design change we know for the iPhone 16, and also we're going to go over the iPhone 16 Pro Max release date and price too. So as I just said, it's crazy to think that in about 9 months time we will have our hands on the new iPhone 16, the 16 Plus, the 16 Pro, the 16 Pro Max, and even that possibility of an iPhone Ultra Model 2. Today, I want to talk about every single design change we're expecting to see on the iPhone 16 models. And the first one is something that you might have just seen in some of these renders here. We're going to be getting a new camera module on the back of the iPhone. As you can see right here, we've had a report in from Mac Rumors who have claimed that they have the prototype leaks of the iPhone 16 design. As you can see, it looks like the iPhone 16 rear camera lenses are a cross between the design of an iPhone 10 and a 10s or X or XS, whatever you wanted to call it back then, with the iPhone 12 design. This means that the cameras on the back are vertical again, and they're not a diagonal like we've had ever since the iPhone 13 models onwards. What is also interesting is the camera lenses are now in one cluster on the back too, with a nice ring metal finish around both of them together, so they are grouped together. But then after that, you're probably wondering about the Pro models. Like I've got the iPhone 15 Pro Max right here. Is the design going to change here for the camera modules too? Well, it's very possible that we may see a design like the renders that you're seeing right here, where we'll actually have the same wide and ultra wide camera lenses in the same cluster, but then we'll have an additional cluster that will house the telephoto camera lens and also the LiDAR sensor inside of it too. Again, these designs are just prototype, so things could still change in the future. But there again, Mac Rumors also showed another change on the iPhone series, and that is the actual volume rockers on the actual side. The design is changing there as well. So again, this is the iPhone 16 design, so the iPhone 16 and 16 Plus, and we can see that the action button has been added this time round, and also you can see that the volume rockers are like in a long pill design, or something very similar to like the dynamic island design, and the volumes on there are much more longer, and they're also a bit bigger too. We've actually had the same sort of volume button design for many years now, so it looks like at last Apple updating this to change these buttons. But this isn't the only kind of button that's going to get a bit of a change in its design. We've actually been told there's going to be a new button completely added to the iPhone series, and this is going to be known as the captive button. So Apple are looking to adding another new button to the iPhone called the captive button or the capture button, also codenamed Project Nova, and it's probably going to be the main selling point for the iPhone 16 Pro series, we've been told. We're not 100% sure what this button's going to do, but it's going to be located on the same side as the power button, and as you can see here on one of the actual reports here, that the actual button is about the same size as the power button, but what this actual button will do is take pictures, or maybe take a video shot, or maybe just replace the ability to take photos altogether than what we have with the current action button. At the end of the day, we can use the action button to take photos and record video. We can assign that, but it looks like Apple are going to make a dedicated full button into the design this time round. Then finally, with all of these design changes and everything, it's quite likely that Apple are going to have to change design and actually increase the screen sizes to fit all these new bits and pieces inside of it. And in fact, we've actually had a report about this too. So as we can see here, we've been told that the actual iPhone 16 Pro and the 16 Pro Max is going to be larger, and not the 16 and the 16 Plus. But it looks like these two new models will definitely get the new design, and they'll come out now with a 6.3-inch screen over the 6.1 for the 16 Pro, and then for the 16 Pro Max, we'll get a 6.9-inch display instead of the 6.7. And whether how Apple are going to do this, it's not quite sure. Maybe making bezels a bit more small, or things like this, but obviously it definitely means a slightly larger actual design for both of these models going forwards. For my thoughts about this though, and all the design changes and everything, I think it's about time it's happening. At the end of the day, the iPhone 15 Pro Max that I've got here, on the back of it, it looks very similar to an iPhone 12 Pro Max, to be honest, and then the 13 Pro Max and the 14 Pro Max, and they all look very, very similar. We've had 4 years of the same design, so I'm really happy that Apple are finally looking like they're going to be changing the design. The only downer that I'm going to put with that is most likely Apple will do the same thing again. So with the iPhone 16, we'll probably have the same design, but this might take us all the way up to, say, the iPhone 20, for example, that we could have that same design language all the way up to then before Apple do any kind of big radical design changes. And with that, before I continue on, now is a good time more than ever to mention that all leaks and reports that you see here are not 100% proof that they will come true with the new iPhone. I can only present you what reports or information and renders that are out there. So basically, the renders that are being created here are based off those sort of leaks and reports that you are seeing out there. So the final iPhone may not look like this. However, if you are still watching this video, then you're as curious as I am in knowing what is being said about the next iPhone anyway. So then guys, just quickly, there's a big craze going around about the Apple Vision Pro right now and how great it is, but there's also some negatives too. For example, how heavy the device is, and also it's quite expensive if you just want to use the device as, say, as a big screen to watch your media on. The great news is there is an alternative, and that is the X-Real Air 2 Pro, like what I've got right here, and they're super light and super comfortable on my face, and they just feel like I'm wearing normal glasses or sunglasses, and they do not feel heavy at all. And the main reason behind that is that they only weigh 75 grams. There is also 3 immersion settings, so you can have it completely clear, you can dim it down to 35%, and if you press it again, you can get a full 100% immersion. As you can see here, they are super stylish and they just look like normal sunglasses or normal glasses. Also, they're really easy just to pack up and just take away with your phone. You can connect them up to almost any USB device that emits a screen, just like my iPhone 15 Pro Max that I have here. And also, I can also send spatial vision videos over to my X-Real. So here's a video that I recorded on my actual iPhone, as you can see right here. And then I can actually play it back with the 3D effects actually on my X-Real glasses here too. With using the likes of the X-Real Beam, you can also just take this around with you and watch things like Netflix on it, for example, and beam it straight to your actual glasses. And also, you can plug in a USB-C to HDMI cable to, say, your favorite console and play games on a giant screen in front of you on these glasses. There are also speakers built into these glasses, and you can also adjust settings actually on the actual glasses stems too. And the best thing of all, guys, is they only cost 1/8 the price of a Vision Pro to buy a pair of these. So then, guys, the end conclusion is, expand your vision with the X-Real Air 2 Pro right now, and there'll be some links in my description of this video for more details, so make sure you check these out right now. Now, for release date, as it's so early, we cannot fully predict the exact date of when it will be for the iPhone 16 Ultra. However, one thing we can be sure of, just like the iPhone 15, where we actually had the Wonderless event actually happening in September time, it is most likely it's going to be exactly the same for the iPhone 16, just like it was for the iPhone 14, the 13 and the 12 as well. Normally all of these events happen around September time unless something really big is happening in the world to prevent it from happening, just like in 2020 with COVID-19. But without this then, generally speaking, Apple like to do their event around about mid-September time or the earlier sort of mid-September time, and then normally release their sort of iPhones around about 10 days later. So at the moment, predict that it'll probably be around about sort of mid-September, and then probably a week later, so in the early sort of 20s of the sort of September time, that you'll be able to get your hands on the brand new iPhone 16 models. But of course, as we get even closer to the actual release date, I'm sure more details will come in of the actual date of when it's going to be happening, and of course I will let you know when the exact date is going to be. So next of all after this, let's talk about the price then for the iPhone 16 models. Now technically we actually haven't had a price increase in US in the last sort of 5 to 6 years on the iPhone models. Apple technically have not increased their prices. What has happened across the world is that other countries, obviously, that their currency to the US dollar might have got stronger or weaker. Also, there's taxes and things like this, like import taxes, and the prices of the iPhone might be more expensive in your country, but in the USA, for example, the price actually has stayed the same for all of the models, including the iPhone 15 Pro Max here, where if you got a 256GB iPhone 14 Pro Max, for example, last year, it would have been the same price as the 256GB 15 Pro Max we have right here. But it looks like possibly, because we're going to get a big design change, and it's literally been about 5-6 years since Apple have done any price increase, and also if you haven't noticed already, you know, the cost of living has actually increased all around the world, and this means that parts are probably more expensive as well for Apple, and also they need to pay their employees even more money and all of this kind of thing. It is possible that we will see a price increase this year, but I'm not expecting it to be a huge amount. I'm probably going to say it's probably going to be about $100 more, probably on every single model of sorts. Now, obviously, $100 is still quite a lot of more money than what we were paying before, but like I said, Apple haven't increased their prices in so many years, if not any, on some of the models. So for Apple to do this about now, it's probably about the right time that they're actually going to be doing this. Don't get me wrong, if Apple keep the prices the same amount as what they're charging right now, I will be super happy. Or even if they decrease the actual amount, I'll be even happier. But I just can't really see that happening. On that note as well, guys, it's time to wrap up this video. So if you have enjoyed watching it, please do press the like button. Also, if you want to hear the latest Apple news, reviews, and comparisons, also make sure you subscribe to the channel and also hit that notification bell. Until next time, guys, I'll see you really soon. Take care. Bye bye.